Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about static keyword in Java. So static keyword in Java, you have topics like static variable, static block and static method. Now we're going to talk about static variable. So what is the static variable? We'll see through an example. Here we have a class named mobile and this is the public class demo which contains the main method. So coming to this class, here we have three instance variables. Okay, these are the three instance variables and a method named show. Okay, now this class is ending here and we have a demo class containing main method. So in this main method we are creating the object, two objects, obj1 and obj2 for the class mobile. Okay, and under obj1 object we are initializing the values of the three instance variables, that is brand, price and name. Now for this obj2 also we are doing the same thing and we are calling the show method for first object created, second object created. Okay, so we know the output will be the brand, price and name for the first object and the brand, price and name for the second object. This will be printed. The name for object 1 is smartphone and the name for object 2 is also smartphone. Okay, for object 1 obj1 and obj2 both are smartphones, right? Do you think there is a similarity? There is a common thing happening here, that is smartphone. Okay, so now presently it is an instant variable. We want to make it static. Static means what? Static means which is immovable, which is constant. Similarly here, something which is common, why do you want to initialize it again and again? Why can't we use it as a common variable? Okay, to use it as a common variable we use a keyword known as static. Okay, let us change this code and understand how this works internally. So for example, I'm taking a JVM here. Okay, so when this code is running, okay, we have your heap memory. Okay, this is the heap memory. In this heap memory, two objects obj1 and obj2 are created. Okay, and it is given their own address. Suppose obj1 address is 101 and obj2 address is 103. It will be stored in the stack. Okay, it will be stored in the stack. This is how internally this code will be working. Now we have seen this code with instance variables. Let me change this to static. Let me change the name variable to static. Let us make this static. Now clearly understand that the static variable belongs to the class. It doesn't belong to object. Now when we talk about the instance variables brand and price, these belong to their respective objects. Suppose obj1 of mobile is being created here. Okay, now brand and price being the instance variable, it belongs to object. Okay, individual object obj1. When it comes to here, brand and price belongs to obj2, but we are writing the name as static. Since we are writing it as static, this belongs to class, not individual object. Okay, so what this means here is, if you are changing the name suppose through obj2 you're changing the name, obj2.name is equal to in place of smartphone you're changing to phone, it automatically changes for obj1 also. In pictorial representation, this name variable is common to the class. Okay, this means it's common to obj1 and obj2. Okay, so if you change in obj2, automatically obj1 name also will change. Okay, this is what static variable means. Now we have spoke that what if we change the obj2 dot name is equal to phone. Okay, so here we are changing the obj2 value name to phone. We know the name is now static. So see, though you're changing obj2's value to phone, even obj1 value also will change to phone, not smartphone. Okay, so if you output, then you will get the name as phone. Okay, when two methods are called, you will get here the name phone, not smartphone. Now generally here we are accessing the name with object, but in a correct way, in a technically syntactical way, you need to access the name through the class name, that is mobile. It is mobile.name is equal to phone. This is the correct way. The class name is mobile, so we need to access through mobile.name. Since it is common to the class, it belongs to class, so we are accessing through mobile.name. Yes, we can access it through object, but the correct way is accessing through the class name. This is how static variable works. Next we will talk about static block. Now we're going to talk about static block. Okay, before going into static block, we need to note that static variable, even in non-static methods you can use static variables. Okay, even in non-static methods you can use static variables. Now we're going to talk about static block. So here you can see the code here, okay, where we have a class mobile, okay, and we have three variables, okay, two are instance variables and one is the static variable name. Here you can see a change in the code, okay, that is you have a static block. This is known as static block, where you are initializing, okay, you're giving the value of the name here, that is phone. Okay, static block is used to initialize the static variable name phone, and you are printing it as static block. Okay, and we have a constructor here mobile. Okay, we are having a constructor which is used to initialize the instance variable, the instance variables brand and price. Okay, and we are giving here the output as constructor. Okay, so what happens here, we need to understand that the output of this block, okay, the output of this code will be, okay, let us see the output. Okay, before going through the output, I request you to please run this code and see your output on your own so you can understand it clearly. Okay, so the output of this will be static block. Okay, static block. And also, since here we have created two objects, so two constructors will be called, okay, and those values will be initialized. Okay, now since two objects are called, so the output will be constructor and constructor. So this will be the output. Okay, so here you need to note the point is, even if you write the constructor up and the static block down, the static block, this sentence will be outputted first, because static belongs to class. Okay, and in JVM we have something called as class loader. Okay, something known as class loader. So the class loader in JVM will load the class. Okay, and when the class is loaded for the first time, okay, that time itself the static block is called. Okay, so two steps are involved in class one is class loader and second is initializing the object. Two steps are involved, one is loading the class and second is instantiating the object. Okay, first step is class loader, so that's why the class is loaded inside the class loader and the static block is called. So though you write upside down also, the first thing will be static block. Now there is a question that what if objects are not created? What if objects are not created? Okay, will the static block gets called? Okay, since we have class and static belongs to the class, though it doesn't relate to objects, if the objects are not created, will the static block gets called? This is what the question is. Okay, of course not. Okay, static block will not get called, you don't get any output. And yes, a constructor however will not get called, even the static block also doesn't get called. Okay, when the objects are not there, okay, when we have not created any object. Okay, so at this time what can we do? What can we do when we don't create any objects and still we want the static block to be called? What to? Here, instead of, we don't have any objects, so we can write something known as class dot for name. We can write class dot for name and the class name. Okay, so imagine there is no object, this is not there, so and we want the static block to be called, so we can mention this syntax, class dot for name and the class name, the static block will be called. Okay, so this is how the static block works. Next we're gonna see about static methods. Now let us talk about static method. Okay, here in the class mobile we have a method called as show. Okay, now this is an instance method. Okay, to access this instance method, we need to create an object, then only you can access this method. Okay, so since it's an instance method, you can access it through creating an object. Now, what if this method is a static method? Okay, we have mentioned the static here, and remember static belongs to class. So do we need to create an object? No. So you need not to create an object for this method, since the show method is a static method. Now, since we made this method as an static method, we can't access a non-static variable inside a static method. That means the static method should have the static variables. Okay, in previous example we have seen static variable as name. Okay, that you can include, but not any other instance variable cannot be included in a static method. So this is very important point. Now, how to include non-static variables inside a static method? We have created an obj1. Now we want to access these two instance variables inside the static method show. How do we do that? For that, we can access it to the class dot. Okay, we can call this method show. Okay, and here we need to pass obj1, that is object of the mobile class. Okay, let us pass the object. Now once this object is passed here, so we need to receive it. Okay, so mobile obj, we are passing the obj1 object which is created here because obj1, these two belongs to obj1, and we want to access these two here in the static method. For that, we are passing the object here. Okay, since we are passing here, this receives here, and this object is of type mobile class, right? You know, int a, int b. Okay, similarly this object belongs to class mobile, so we are mentioning mobile and its type and the passed object. So once we get it here, we can access it in the form obj1 obj dot brand. Okay, and you can access it in the form of obj dot price. Okay, this is how you can access the non-static variables inside the static method. So this is how static method works. We will talk why we have static in the main method. Okay, since we know main method is the entry point of the program. Okay, this is the first point. Second, static belongs to class. Okay, static belongs to class, and we need not to create any object for the static methods. Now, what if this main method is not static? We need to create an object for main. Now, where do you create an object for main? Inside a main, and the main is not static. Now, where do you create? There is a deadlock. You cannot create an object for main because main is the entry point. There is no other main. Okay, so for sake of not creating any object for main method, you need to include static. So you need not to create any object for main, and the entry point of program directly enters into main. Hope you have understood what is static variable, static block and static method. If this video is really helpful, please like, subscribe and share it with your friends.